So is there any more to that story? Is there anything else you want to add in terms of what
Hmm.
other thoughts, feelings came up around that?
Yeah, not anything like too deep. Like you said, this is really fresh in my mind. But I remember I was worried when he initially told me, he's like, oh, I got a job underground mining. I was like, oh, that sounds dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
With no knowledge about anything about underground mining. I have no clue how dangerous it is or not. So now it just kind of like almost enforces that fear.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I should call it fear. Yeah, but I am worried about him. And
Occupational hazard, right? I mean, a natural occupational hazard with this type of job. So you have to sort of live with a bit of ambiguity almost every time he goes to work.
yeah, especially because we can't speak while he's at work and he works a lot of overtime. And then I just think about other things like I start to make the problem bigger in my head. He just bought a house and what if he what if something happens to the mine or maybe it'll be closed for a long time while they investigate and then he can't make his mortgage payments and stuff and that's not like my burden really like it's his house but I still worry about it.
I think it's I think it's natural to have those worries, you know, to at least be. But would you say that they're in any way debilitating or kind of hindering you or the relationship, or are they just sort of fleeting worries that you don't really cling on to?
Yeah, they're more just fleeting. Like I don't really hang on to them. And then I feel like kind of a jerk because I really don't like his house. I'm like, if he had to move somewhere else, that'd be fine. It's not the house, not the physical structure. He lives in like a teeny tiny town of 30 people, 40 minutes outside of Kamloops, and I fucking hate it there. And so if he like lost his house, I mean, I don't want him to lose his house, but if he lived somewhere else, that would be really nice for me.
So there's a part of you that kind of hopes he does lose the job.
Yeah, like the job can stay, but the house can.
Okay.
Or the house's location.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess more what I'd want to talk about is I really don't like my boyfriend's dad.
Okay.
And every time anything comes up, it always seems to go back to his dad. His dad lives in the same town
Mm.
in the 70s. He's like a high functioning alcoholic, super rude, really condescending, super misogynistic. Can't stand the guy. But John, my boyfriend, feels like he has to like take care of his dad and be there, and his dad's lonely all the time. It's like, yeah, your dad's lonely because he's a fucking dick. So, sorry, that was a lot of info.
Okay, that's okay. So yeah, let's just recap it a bit. So started off with the mine and the accident, but sort of moved over to the house, and the feelings around the house are maybe more tied to the fact that that house is so close to his father, who is not um, someone that you particularly like.
Yeah, that's a super nice way to put it.
Yeah. So, and they live in the same town, obviously, and they're close.
Like, yes and no. John feels like a sense of responsibility that he has to take care of his dad. Like, family is really important to him. And I want to respect that. But it kind of hinders our relationship because he bought a house in a town that I told him from the get go, I will never, ever live here. Just so you know.
And he did that buying of the house happen after you told him that? Okay. How did that feel?
Oh man, I'm still mad about it. I get so mad about it.
Mm.
But it's like like there are a lot of pros. It's an affordable house. He really cares about his dad. His dad's getting older. But I told him I just feel disrespected. Like I told him I never ever want to live here. And then he like, yeah, bought my house. I'm like, okay.
Mm.
Does this mean we're breaking up or? But no, like he's had the house for several months now, and our relationship's still fine.
You guys have been together for how long?
Over a year now.
Over a year. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that conversation about the not wanting to live in that community happened, back then.
Yeah, months and months ago.
Mm-hmm. So was there any, I'm just kind of curious about how, when there was discussion about him buying a house, how did that come up? Was he, when you initially, sorry, I should ask the first question. When you initially told him that you didn't want to live there, what was the discussion like at that point? How did he take that?
He kind of took it with indifference, almost. How did he take that? He didn't ask me. He just more told me. He's like, oh, I put an offer in on this house. And I was like, wow, I had no idea about any of this. Where is the house? He's like, in Wallachine. I was like, oh, just so you know, I'm never, ever, ever going to live there, right? You know that. So, yeah, we've had a couple fights about the house.
Yeah. Yeah, I think understandably you'd feel a bit disrespected if you're in a committed relationship and your partner didn't talk to you about a pretty big purchase and life decision, really.
Yeah, I think a house is a pretty big life decision. Yeah, so don't feel super respected, but we had some fights about it, but we also had some really good talks, and there are a lot of pros. Like, it's an affordable house, it's close to his dad, which really matters to him. It's really close to his work, which matters to him. Close to a lot of activities he really likes to do. And he's not in a position, he doesn't want to rent, he doesn't want to kind of like feels like he's throwing his money away renting, so a lot of things that are fine. But yeah, it always comes back to the house. I'm just like obsessed with his house.
Obsessed.
Obsessed.
What does that look like for you?
Like, it used to look like talking about it all the time, but now I can tell it's like beating a dead horse. Like, he really doesn't want to talk about it. And so now I try to never talk about his house, and I'm like walking on eggshells, theoretically, about his house. But I feel like this is giving our relationship a negative light. Like, I do feel really good about our relationship.
Oh, yeah. Every relationship has pros and cons. Yeah, I'm not judging the relationship. I'm just here to help you kind of tease out how you're feeling about the house. And so in terms of so you mentioned like you've got you're doing a really, really great job of kind of seeing both sides, which is really great. So it's in by his father, even though you don't like the father, you know how important it is to him. There's the fact that it was probably a bit cheaper. He's not throwing away his rent. It's close to his work. The main piece seems to be the fact that it didn't involve you. There was. Does that resonate?
I feel not respected. And yeah, it just makes me think, like, if he's going to do things like put an offer in on a house without telling me, it's pretty big in my mind. Like, what other things will he do without telling me? Or like, he just didn't care about my opinion at all. And now we're not going to live together for the foreseeable future because I am not going to live in Wallachine. So I reminded him of that like a month ago, and he was like all surprised. Oh, you're not going to live here? No, you knew that. You've known that from the beginning.
What about it there that you're pretty certain you don't want to live there? What's the reasons for that?
Yeah, it's like 45 minutes away from any services, from like grocery stores, gas, anything. The town literally has 31 people, so it's not really a town. And a lot of them seem to drink a lot. And his next door neighbor came up to us and was like, oh, if I ever see your dog on my property, I'm gonna shoot it. And I was like, this is why these people live out of society, because they can't function in society. And I just want no part of that. And I feel really isolated when I'm out there.
That's fair. Those are all valid reasons.
Thanks.
And it sounds like you're really strong and convicted in what you want. It sounds like you really know what you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but both of us do. And they're two very different things.
Mm. And how does that feel? To feel like you're have two different goals.
Yeah, I've just kind of pushed it to the back of my mind while in school. There's only so much I can handle at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it feels a little scary.
Mm-hmm. Uncertainty of the future a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Uncertainty, and it just makes me wonder if we just have really different values. We build a relationship off of we have such different values.
Mm.
I don't know.
Well, you say values. What kind of values do you think are different then? Like location of houses is one thing, but what about the values?
Yeah, it comes back to the respect thing a lot. Like
Okay.
me telling him, and I just feel like he never listened. Like when I told him so many times, and I explicitly told him at least 5 times, I'm never living in Washington. And then when it came up, when it was more real, when he had a house, he was like shocked. So it's like, did you ever listen? Did you ever take me seriously? Because I listened to him.
Mm.
I take him seriously.
Yeah. So you felt disrespected, but also unheard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, that's understandable if you're feeling a bit uncertain or a bit um, fearful. But you've got a lot going on right now. You mentioned you're in school.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you taking?
I'm taking counseling.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess you don't do you feel you don't want to deal with this right now, this issue right now. You kind of want to just focus on school for now. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, yeah. Focus on school, and because right now I don't know where I'm going to live or what I'm going to. Like I want to be a counselor, but I don't know in what capacity or. So I'm happy enough in our relationship right now to not do anything about it, if that makes sense, and then kind of see when I'm a bit more established.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a reasonable goal. I mean, you don't have to make this decision right now. It's something to keep, you know, on the back burner if that's what you want to do. Um, but interesting to explore sort of how you're feeling and